students. So today the topic of our discussion is money. Under this topic we are going to study about some subtopics such as number 1 is meaning and evolution of money, barter system, some drawbacks of the barter system, types of money, supply of money, who are the suppliers of money, and measurements of money. So let us proceed one by one. So now firstly we shall study about that what do we understand by the term money. Anything which is generally accepted as a medium of exchange can be termed as money. But now here the question arises that before the evolution of money, how the things were being purchased by human beings. Yes, before the evolution of money, there was a system known as barter system. Now what do we understand by the term barter system? When we exchange goods in place of another good, then such type of system is known as barter system. But since barter system has some of its drawbacks, due to which resulted into the evolution of money in this world. So firstly we shall study that what were the drawbacks of the barter system. The first and the foremost drawback of the barter system was that lack of double coincidence of wants. Yes, lack of double coincidence of wants. Firstly, let us understand that what do we understand by the term coincidence and double coincidence. So now let us understand this thing with the help of an example. Suppose that here there are two persons. One is A and another is B. A is having wheat and B is having rice. Now what will happen? Suppose that A wants rice. So he will search a person who is having rice. Now suppose that he has searched a person who is having rice. This is the first coincidence. Now what is the second coincidence? The second coincidence is that the other person who is having rice should also want wheat in exchange of the rice. So this is known as double coincidence. So this was very rarely possible. So this one of the drawback of the barter system led to the evolution of money. The second drawback of the barter system was lack of a common unit of value. Yes, now in today's world we can easily purchase the things by paying money, or we can say that we can buy this much toffees by paying 5 rupees, or this much chocolates by paying 40 rupees or 50 rupees and so on. But when there was no existence of money, how we can measure that how much goat is to be exchanged in return of how much of buffaloes? The calculation was very typical. So this was another drawback or problem of the barter system. Next was difficulty of future payment. Since goods were being exchanged for goods, so each and every person needed the commodity at the time of exchange itself. Means that there was no provision of such type of future payment as are available now when there is existence of money. Next is difficulty of storage of value and transfer of value. Storage of value, that means that if we wanted to save something at the time of barter system, then saving was possible only in terms of goods. And saving of goods means that it is going to have some storage cost. But now, as a result of money, it has removed this drawback of the barter system, because now everything can be saved easily in the terms of money. And next was transfer of value. During barter system, transference of value was also not easily possible. Transference of value means that the goods cannot be easily transported from one place to another. And some type of goods totally lacked immobility, like land. Land cannot be transferred from one place to another. But when there is evolution of money, everything can be easily purchased from anywhere in the world we want. So in this way, money has removed this drawback also. Now, let us understand a brief note about the functions of money. The first and the foremost function of money is that medium of exchange. Money is easily accepted as a medium of exchange because we can easily purchase any commodity in the world we wish to have. Second is the store of value. Yes, everything can be saved in terms of money very easily. So it is having a store of value. Next is measure of value. We can measure that by paying how much amount we can purchase how much quantities. Everything is having a value in terms of rupees. Next is standard of deferred payments. Yes, nowadays there are a lot many provisions in terms of money that future payments can be made on some future date. So in this way, in short, we studied that how money has removed the problem of the barter system which we have studied earlier in these points. Now, there are few forms of money like fiat money and fiduciary money, full-bodied money and credit money. So let us firstly understand that what do we understand by fiat money. Students, the money which is issued by some authority, and since the money is being issued by some authority, so it is legally or any person is bound to accept is legally as a medium of exchange can be termed as fiat money. Now then, what is fiduciary money? Any money which exists or which is accepted as a medium of payment on the basis of a mutual trust between the payer and the payee is termed as fiduciary money. For example, checks. Next is full-bodied money and credit money. So before understanding these two types of money, let us understand the two terms such as intrinsic value and extrinsic value. Or we can say that money value and commodity value. Yes, every money which is being used today, or the notes or the coins which are being used today, are having some intrinsic value and some extrinsic value also. It means that they are having some commodity value and they are having some money value. So what do we understand by money value? Money value is the amount which is printed at the top of the coins or any notes. That is the money value. Now what is commodity value? Commodity is the value with which that coin or note is made of. So what happens in the case of full-bodied money? The intrinsic value and the extrinsic value of the money is equal. It means that the commodity value and the money value is equal. While in the case of credit money, what happens? Money value is more than commodity value. So now at today's time, whatever notes and coins that we are using can be termed as credit money. Why? Just only the reason is that its money value and commodity value are not equal. Not equal means that its money value is greater than the commodity value. Now, let us understand that what do we understand by supply of money. Here I want to make one thing clear, that supply is not a flow concept. It means that supply of money is not a flow concept. About flow and stock, previously we have studied in the topic national income and its related aggregates. So why supply of money is a stock concept? Because it is the total stock money held by the people at any point of time. So here I want to make it clear that what differentiates between stock and flow is that when there is point of time or any variable which is being measured at a point of time is termed as stock, and if it is measured in a period of time, then that is a flow concept. Now, next is who supplies money in India or in our economy. Suppliers of money are basically three sources. One is RBI, or we can say Reserve Bank of India or Central Bank of India. Next is commercial bank, and the third one is our government. Basically, the note issue is the main function of the RBI. But 1 rupee and notes as well as coins are being issued by government, or we can say by the finance ministry. Anything saying would be correct. And when comes the commercial bank, so commercial banks don't issue any note or coin, but they create deposits, they create credit. That's why they have been included under the suppliers of money. But now the question arises, on what basis the notes and coins are being issued by our central bank or by our RBI? There is a system known as minimum reserve system. It is being followed in India, and on the basis of this system, RBI issues note and coins in India. Now under this system, what happens? RBI has to maintain a reserve of minimum rupees 200 crore, and this 200 crore should be in the form of gold and foreign securities. And out of this 200 crore, at least 115 crore gold should be maintained. So in this way, by following the minimum reserve system, Reserve Bank of India issue all types of notes as well as coins except 1 rupee note and 1 rupee coin. Why? Because 1 rupee note and 1 rupee coins are being issued by finance ministry, or we can say government of India. Now comes measures of money supply. In India, basically there are 4 measures of money supply: M1, M2, M3 and M4. Since in the syllabus of 12th standard CBSE, only M1 measure of money supply in the syllabus, so we shall study only about M1 here. So M1 is nothing but C plus DD plus OD. Now what is C? C is the currency with the public, and currency with the public can be in the form of either notes or in the form of either coins. Next is demand deposits. Now whose demand deposits? Yes, demand deposits of the public with whom? With commercial banks. So DD is nothing but demand deposits of the public with commercial banks. OD is the other deposits. Now in this, some things are being included. What are those things? Demand deposits of public financial institutions. Now these demand deposits are being maintained with whom? Not with commercial banks, but with Reserve Bank of India. So in other deposits, the first thing that is included is demand deposits of the public financial institutions such as NABARD with RBI. Second is demand deposits of foreign banks and foreign governments. This is also being maintained only with RBI. And the third one is demand deposits of international financial institutions. So all these demand deposits are being maintained with RBI only in the form of other deposits. Here I want to make one thing clear, that the deposits of our government does not include under other deposits. In addition, the deposits of our banking system is also not included under other deposits. So this is all we have studied about money. Now in next chapter we shall study about banking. Thank you.